truly comprehensive. If the United States were to falter and stop leading the way, then there would be no other leader for the global effort to solve this crisis. By taking the action these attorneys general are taking today, it is the best, most hopeful step I can remember in a long time that we will make the changes that are necessary. So I'll conclude my part in this by once again saying congratulations to these public servants for the historic step they're taking today, and on behalf of many people who I think would say it's all right for me to speak for them, I'd like to say thank you.
Thank you very much. And now my other colleagues are going to say a few words. For whatever reason, I've gotten into the habit, since we always seem to do this, we do this in alphabetical order by state, which I learned when I first became an AG, but I guess we'll stick with it. Connecticut Attorney General George Jepsen, who was our partner in the Friedrichs case and stood with me when we've announced that we were filing in that case. We've done a lot of good work together. Attorney General Jepsen.
I'd like to thank Eric and Bill for their leadership on this important issue in convening this conference, and to recognize the man who's done more to make global warming an international issue than anybody on the entire planet, Vice President Al Gore. In the backdrop of a very dysfunctional Congress, state attorneys general frequently on a bipartisan basis have shown that we can stand up and take action where others have not. The Vice President referenced the tobacco litigation, which was before my time, but hugely important, setting the tone and the structures by which we do work together. Since becoming Attorney General in 2011, we've taken on the big banks and their mortgage servicing issues, a $25 billion settlement. We've taken on Wall Street, Standard & Poor's for mislabeling mortgage-backed securities as a 20-state coalition, mislabeling mortgage-backed securities as AAA when in fact they were junk. We're working together on data privacy issues. And now it's time that we stand up once again and take on what is the most important issue of our generation. We owe it to our children and our children's children to step up and do the right thing, to work together, and I'm committed to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now a relatively new colleague, but someone who has brought incredible energy to this fight, and who we look forward to working with on this and other matters for a long time to come, Maryland Attorney General Brian Frosh.
Well, first, thank you again to General Snyderman and General Sorrell for putting together this group, and it's an honor to be with you, Mr. Vice President, and thank you so much for your leadership. I'm afraid we may have reached that point in the press conference where everything that needs to be said has been said, but everyone who needs to say it hasn't said it yet. So I will try to be brief. The climate change is an existential threat to everybody on the planet. Maryland is exceptionally vulnerable to it. The Chesapeake Bay bisects our state. It defines us geographically, culturally, historically. We have as much tidal shoreline as states as large as California. We have islands in the Chesapeake Bay that are disappearing. We have our capital, Annapolis, which is also the nuisance flood capital of the United States. It's underwater way, way, way too often. It's extraordinarily important that we address the problem of climate change. I'm grateful to General Sorrell and General Schneiderman for putting together this coalition of the willing. I'm proud to be a part of it in addressing and supporting the President's Clean Power Plan. What we want from ExxonMobil and Peabody and ALEC is very simple. We want them to tell the truth. We want them to tell the truth so that we can get down to the business of stopping climate change and of healing the world. I think that as Attorneys General, as the Vice President said, we have a unique ability to help bring that about, and I'm very glad to be part of it.
Thank you. And another great colleague who has done extraordinary work before and since becoming Attorney General, working with our office on incredibly important civil rights issues, financial fraud issues, Massachusetts Attorney General Maura Healey.
Thank you very much, General Snyderman. Thank you, General Snyderman and General Sorrell, for your leadership on this issue. It's an honor for me to be able to stand here today with you, with our colleagues, and certainly with the Vice President, who today, I think, put most eloquently just how important this is, this commitment that we make. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your continuing education. Thank you for your inspiration and your affirmation. You know, as Attorneys General, we have a lot on our plates. Addressing the epidemics of opiate abuse, gun violence, protecting the economic security and well-being of families across this country. All of these issues are so important. But make no mistake about it. In my view, there's nothing we need to worry about more than climate change. It's incredibly serious when you think about the human and the economic consequences, and indeed the fact that this threatens the very existence of our planet. Nothing is more important. Not only must we act, we have a moral obligation to act. That is why we are here today. The science, we do believe in science. We're lawyers, we believe in facts, we believe in information, and as was said, this is about facts and information and transparency. We know from the science and we know from experience the very real consequences of our failure to address this issue. Climate change is and has been for many years a matter of extreme urgency. But unfortunately, it is only recently that this problem has begun to be met with equally urgent action. Part of the problem has been one of public perception. And it appears, certainly, that certain companies, certain industries may not have told the whole story, leading many to doubt whether climate change is real and to misunderstand and misapprehend the catastrophic nature of its impacts. Fossil fuel companies that deceived investors and consumers about the dangers of climate change should be, must be held accountable. That's why I too have joined in investigating the practices of ExxonMobil. We can all see today the troubling disconnect between what Exxon knew, what industry folks knew, and what the company and industry chose to share with investors and with the American public. We're here before you, all committed to combating climate change and to holding accountable those who have misled the public. The states represented here today have long been working hard to sound the alarm, to put smart policies in place, to speed our transition to a clean energy future, and to stop power plants from emitting millions of tons of dangerous global warming pollution into our air. I will tell you, in Massachusetts, that's been a very good thing. Our economy has grown while we've reduced greenhouse gas emissions and boosted clean power and efficiency. We're home to a state with an $11 billion clean energy industry that employs nearly 100,000 people. Last year, clean energy accounted for 15% of New England's power production. Our energy efficiency programs have delivered $12.5 billion in benefits since 2008 and are expected to provide another $8 billion over the next 3 years. For the past 5 years, Massachusetts has also been ranked #1 in the country for energy efficiency. So we know what's possible, we know what progress looks like, but none of us can do it alone. That's why we're here today. We have much work to do, but when we act and we act together, we know we can accomplish much. By quick, aggressive action, educating the public, holding accountable those who have needed to be held accountable for far too long, I know we will do what we need to do to address climate change and to work for a better future. So I thank A.G. Schneiderman for gathering us here today and for my fellow attorneys generals and their continued effort in this important fight. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And now another great colleague who speaks as eloquently as anyone I've heard about what's happening to his state